What if your entire future is stamped on your forehead at age 10, and yours comes up blank? That's the question hanging over Errol on the morning his life is supposed to begin. In this world, the goddess gifts everyone a class: swordsman, mage, blacksmith, chef, turning kids into destined adults with one ritual touch. Errol's family buzzes with excitement. His mother is a sword saint, his father an archmage. Surely the boy's class will be legendary. Errol, though, eats breakfast in steady silence. He respects the system, he just doesn't worship it. At the church, the priest lays a hand to each child's brow, a formal blessing that awakens their class. Titles bloom, futures bloom, cheers bloom. When Errol steps forward, the room leans in. Sword, saint blood. Archmage blood. The air itself feels ready to applaud. The priest closes his eyes, calls for the goddess's mark, and nothing answers. The hush that follows is heavy enough to snap. The verdict lands like a dull bell. No class? Not low class, not wrong class, just none. The priest's pity stings the bystanders more than Errol. His parents try to lighten it on the walk home. He'll never have to worry about a job. He can always stay with them. Comfort feels like quicksand. Errol refuses to sink. He's been training with a sword since before most kids tied their boots. A class would have made the climb easier. It doesn't decide whether he climbs. He heads to the training yard to move his thoughts the way swords move air. Two fresh swordsman class boys are already there, hacking at each other with the thrilling sloppiness of youth. They spot Errol, grin, and point their shiny new titles like spears. Classless can't spar with swordsmen. He asks to test that theory. Their smirks curdle into permission. The first boy rushes in with a loud edge and light feet, the second circles to flank. Errol's blade meets their metal with angles so small they're almost polite. Parry, slip, deflect. He taps a chin with the pommel, sends a heel to a shin, lets one overgrowth of momentum trip the other. They hit the dirt in one tangled complaint about unfair. That's when a voice cuts across the yard. Red hair, straight posture, eyes like flint. The captain of the guards kid, bred for blade work and very done watching incompetence. The prodigy doesn't ask who Errol is. They already know him by reputation, son of a legend, a supposed natural. The announcement comes with a challenge. Blades lift, dust lifts, and the duel bursts into speed. Errol's guard is tight, his footwork a tempo the ground understands, but the redhead isn't just fast. They're trained, a rhythm edged with a technique the common eye can't parse. A shimmer of motion, a blink of steel, twin slash. The first arc Errol catches, the second slams into his chest, punching him into the earth. The redhead lowers the blade with calm. That's a skill. A classless fighter doesn't learn it. The bruise on his sternum aches for days. What aches worse is the assumption underneath it. Errol takes that sting into the forest with a practice dummy and the patience to swing until the sun forgets what time is. He breaks the motion apart, listens to the friction of his own wrist bones, rebinds the path of the blade to muscle instead of magic. The moment the technique clicks, the world blinks. A goblin lunges out of thorny green. Errol's new twin slash splits its rush like a door opening and closing in the same breath. Pride sparks and dies at the sound that follows. A roar so wide it seems to come from the trees themselves. Then a human voice, hurt, scared, stubborn, echoes from deeper in. He moves. He finds the redhead from the yard, bloodied, cornered, refusing to back down, facing a hobgoblin twice their size. The monster raises a club like a fallen tree. Errol doesn't waste the breath of a warning. Two cuts flicker through the air, one to draw the eye, one to end the threat. The hobgoblin crumples with a crash that rattles leaves. The redhead stares at the corpse, then at the boy who arrived without a title and wielded the same skill they'd earned through class and grind. How? Errol hands over holy water and a simple answer. Technique is built from basics: speed, angle, power. The class hands you a door. Practice teaches you how to pick the lock. He steps into a friendly rematch on the spot. The redhead throws twin slash with pride. Errol meets it with a perfect mirror, and adds a third cut on the rebound that lands between armor and certainty. The point isn't humiliation, it's possibility. If a skill is made of motion, motion can be learned. 5 years crack open and pour out like a long breath. When we find Errol again, the boy who had no class is now a young man with too many hours on a blade to count and a destination burned into his goals. Brestia, the city of swords, where his mother once sharpened her legend. He rides a cart beside two other fighters who can't stop squabbling, one a heavy-hitting barbarian, the other a quick-handed dual wielder. The driver tells them to keep it down, that the road doesn't like distractions. The road agrees. An orc warband rolls out of the tree line with a leader in tow and the kind of arrogance you only wear if you've never met Errol. The companions bail, fear cutting their ties faster than knives. The driver curses under his breath and snaps the reins to flee. Errol steps off the cart instead. He moves like a meaning. His dash step looks like teleportation to the untrained eye. Here, then there, then inside an orc's guard where the decision has already been made. When the circle closes around him and bodies block the lane, he changes the geometry. A whirl of steel opens lanes that didn't exist a second ago, a blade dance that most know as a signature of a famous sword princess class. Errol doesn't hold that title. He holds the muscle memory it takes to move like that. The orc leader swings something heavy enough to scare common sense. Errol climbs the attack like a ladder and drops his sword straight through the crown. Silence swallows the path. The driver, who had been pretending to be a nobody, stares past Errol with a half smile and a recognition only warriors carry. Later, he admits what his eye had already told us. He's a holy knight taking a break from the endless churn. He drops a map to Brestia's reality. Guilds control access to tournaments, tournaments crown reputations, and in this town, money follows steel. Brestia's gate breeds people with swords. Recruiters bark promises from beneath banners. Boards list ranks, D up to A, and the rare S that lives in whispers. Errol walks in with a plain blade and an unplain presence, then walks straight into a wall called status. The big names want shiny labels, not clean timing. Class? They ask. None, he says. Next, they say. He would keep walking if not for the honestly desperate pitch of Lena, a petite adult fencer with the kind of boldness you only earn by refusing to sink. Her guild, Dragonfang, was once a champion, now a punchline. Errol recognizes the name from a letter his mother pressed into his hand before he left. It's her old guild, home to a dual-wielding legend who named the banner after a finishing move. Lena is that legend's daughter, and the legend sits on the guild room couch with a missing arm and a bottle for a sword. Rod warns Errol away. Lena winces and keeps recruiting. Errol signs. He barely finishes the ink when the door opens and red hair walks back into his life. Rye, the prodigy he saved in the forest, the rival who beat him as a kid, is a woman now, and her blade is 5 times heavier than a normal sword because her class, Power Swordsman, lets her make that choice. The years have not dulled her competitive edge. She calls for a duel. Her first swing shudders through Errol's guard like thunder through a window pane. He's ready for Twin Slash. She answers with Twin Slash thrown by a heavier blade, which hits like a siege engine and cracks his stance. He smiles anyway. When she resumes, he leaves an afterimage in place like a shed skin and steps behind her spine. A palm checks a shoulder, a counter tucks into a seam, and the exchange ends with the sort of clean velocity his mother used to demand. Rye's pride bruises, her respect solidifies. Dragonfang has 3 fighters now, Rye, Lena, and the classless problem the city can't categorize. The city tries anyway. The Black Blade Guild, stacked with A ranks and an appetite for spectacle, pulls strings to land Dragonfang as their opening opponent in the Colosseum. Their leader, Geo, is all velvet voice over a blade that aims at reputations. Bookmakers post 20-to-1 odds. Lena does the math and takes a risky bet on herself, because of course she does. When the announcer calls names, a green-haired fencer from Black Blade swaggers forward and promises to mow down all 3 opponents. Errol walks out to meet him like a question mark turned into a straight line. The fencer is quick, same school of speed, same love of blink-and-miss-it lunges. Errol answers with after-images. The fencer slashes through 3 illusions and an ego. The 4th presence puts steel where confidence used to be. 1 down. A dual wielder comes next, a metronome of pressure that tries to choke space out of the ring. Errol lets the cadence rise, then cuts the music with the very Twin Slash he once borrowed from Fate, doubling his opponent's surprise with the economy of the finishing angle. 2 down. A dagger specialist glides in with reverse grips and a dancer's hips fighting like a maze. After images turn that maze into a hall of mirrors. The real Errol steps from the reflection to close the chapter. 3 down. The 4th is a wall, shield swordsman, all attrition and patience. Errol tries for clean entries and finds iron everywhere, so he lives where the shield isn't. He chips, he angles, he guesses, and then stops guessing, he predicts. His mother's foresight drill plays back in his calves. When the shield charge comes, he isn't there. When the opening yawns for half a heartbeat, he is. He borrows the shield for 1 beat and returns it as a statement. 4 down. The most dangerous walks in last. A samurai from the Eastern styles, sheath humming with the promise of a draw cut. The crowd quiets. Errol tests range and feels the edge of something that doesn't forgive mistakes. He almost smiles. When he commits, the samurai's sword leaves its home in a lightning line. Errol's feet had already told him where to be. He passes the strike like wind passes reeds and replies with a flurry that the city associates with a sword princess, not with a young man who supposedly shouldn't know how. 5 down. The Colosseum roars and then goes very still as Black Blade demands proof. The officials press Errol's class stone to the crystal. The projection blooms over the arena for all to see. No class. The sound that follows isn't disbelief anymore. It's a roar finding a new name to chant. That night, Dragonfang's guild hall breathes again. Lena's bets pay out so hard you can hear the deadlock break. Someone slides a drink to Rye. She thanks them without looking away from Errol, who's back in the training ground an hour later asking her to hit him, sheathed blade, hard as she can. She stares. Armor reinforcement is a skill, Errol. He nods like a student who has already started the homework. Teach me the feeling. I'll build the movement. She swings, he braces, the floor records the impact and the lesson both. Upstairs, Rod watches from the shadows of his own frustration. Lena floats on hope and ambition and the pragmatic fear that success brings poachers. Rod isn't wrong. Big guilds will come knocking, and if Errol leaves, Dragonfang could collapse as quickly as it rose. Errol hears them both and chooses to keep sharpening the thing he can control, his blade. Opportunity knocks, but so does trouble. Deep beneath Brestia lies a network of dungeons, stone arteries full of constructs, traps, and monsters, the best places to turn practice into pressure-tested instinct. That's where the trio heads next. On the first floor, animated suits of armor move with unnerving grace despite their weight. You can cut the head clean off and the empty steel keeps walking. Errol learns quickly that joints and balance hallways beat bravado. On a stairwell, a figure crumples in faked blood and begs for help, babbling about friends caught in a trap. Lena negotiates a reward because her guild ledger still stings. Rye reaches for a bandage because her heart still wins arguments with her head. Errol helps the man stand and says nothing about the math he's already done. If the wounds were that deep, the legs wouldn't hold. The victim ushers them into a side room with a single gold coin gleaming on the floor. The moment it moves, the floor moves too. A teleport seal swallows the entire party, including the liar, to his own shock, and spits them out on a floor none of the three has seen. The air is colder, the stone newer, the silence different. The liar turns to run, then sees a figure coalesce from pale light, a knight in rainbow-etched armor whose presence presses the lungs. Legends call this kind of guardian a sword. God Knight, a test, a relic, a rumor turned real. The knight doesn't talk. It acts. Gravity crashes down like an invisible avalanche. Lena and Rye slam to their knees under the weight. The con man sprawls, finally earning his blood. Errol's stance dips. He's felt this before. Years ago, his mother made him train with weighted talismans until standing still was a fight and moving was a sin. He narrows his world to the points that matter: heels, hips, blade. The knight's first strike comes in clean. Errol's block skids him backward, boots hissing across stone. He answers, not with panic, but with the kind of offense that turns defense into oxygen. He threads a divine step through the gravity field, stealing inches with timing instead of strength. Drawing the knight into a pattern, then breaking the pattern with a coin flick that interrupts the sigil at the exact beat its weight peaks. For a half second, the pressure thins. For a half second, a door opens. Infinite break isn't one slash. It's how a dozen cuts join the same sentence so completely the armor doesn't realize it has already been reduced to nouns. The rainbow etching splinters. The chest plate sighs. The light inside flickers like a star remembering how to sleep. When the pieces hit the floor, silence fills in the rest. Rye stands with a wince and a grin she tries to hide. Lena laughs once, short, disbelieving, thrilled, and points at the con man who looks like he's aged a decade in the last minute. The teleport seal back to the surface feels like sunshine. Up in the tavern district, trouble has legs and a smug face. Jorg, who helped stack the odds against Dragonfang in the arena, has been spreading the story that Lena lured her own team to ruin. Rod hears the mud first, rage second, and barrels across the room in a flash of the old self, splintering a table for punctuation. Jorg leans back like a man who believes he can't be touched. Everyone's responsible for their own safety in the dungeons, he says, silk over poison. The door swings. Lena's voice carries in before her feet. Errol and Rye follow, dusty and hungry and alive. Rod forgets how to breathe for a second and then remembers at the sight of his daughter. His arms are a vice, his eyes are wet. Jorg starts to play politics again. Rye shuts him down with a look. Errol doesn't bother to answer. He orders food and begins planning the next day's drills in the same breath. Because this isn't a happy ending. It's a launch. Dragonfang has money now, but money buys time, not victory. Rod has a war still to fight, with the bottle, with the ghosts of the arm he no longer has, with the belief that a dual wielder without two blades is nothing. Errol's argument is his existence. Classless, skillful, already proving that building a new style from what remains is not just possible. It's the point. Lena will recruit. Rye will harden her guard until Errol's counters stop landing. The city will whisper and cheer and bet, and somewhere beneath the cobbles, the sword god knight reknits itself for the next fool or hero brave enough to descend. The sword. God Cup looms, a tournament that burns away excuses and crowns whoever's left, standing as Brestia's answer to the question everyone asks, who's the best with a blade? Dragonfang wants in. Geo won't forget the public embarrassment. Jorg won't stop playing Puppet Master. And Errol? He'll show up tomorrow the way he did today, without a class, without a safety net, and without a single doubt that a person's limits are written in sweat, not stone. But things are about to get even more intense. The city has seen what he can do. Now it wants to see what he can't, and whether he'll break there or break through.